Hi guys, this is a Chieftain Tectonic Slam of Cataclysm Warcry build with Enmity S Embrace Ring. I will show some very short boss fights, then I will explain the build.
I shall cast you into a pit of infinite torment.
Time has no meaning. Your pain will finally end.
This is the key to a crucible. This is the key to a crucible that stretches. This is the key to a crucible that's...
The prize phase comes to join.
Pain will be returned. Your absurd defiance ends here.
Memories are mine. I cannot lose them.
They lie to you, Father. I'm your true memory.
To save the future, the past must be sacrificed.
Warning, this build is not fully optimized. There is still more potential in it. The idea of this build is starting with Enmity S Embrace Ring. It gives a mod. Damage penetrates fire resistance equal to your overcapped fire resistance, up to a maximum of 200%. This means, when we have 90% maximum fire resistance, we need to reach 290% fire resistance to get the maximum 200% penetration. But the ring also reduces the fire resistance with 65% on the best roll. This means we need to reach 829% fire resistance to get the maximum 200% penetration. I have 792% fire resistance without the ring and 277% with the ring, and my maximum fire resistance is 89%. This means my damage penetrates 188% fire resistance. For a lot of fire resistance stacking, I choose the Chieftain because he gets cold and lightning resistances too. While we are stacking fire resistance, and also maximum cold and lightning resistance will be equal to maximum fire resistance. So we do not need to think on cold and lightning resistance. Chieftain gets a very strong support gem to slam skills, and since we penetrate fire resistance, I choose Tectonic Slam skill. It converts 60% of physical damage to fire. The rest 40% convert comes from fire mastery. So we convert all physical damage to fire damage. Tectonic Slam of Cataclysm deals a lot more damage than the normal version. It removes all endurance charges, and gets 20% more damage per removed endurance charges. I have 9 endurance charges, so my slam deals 180% more damage. It is important that the charges needs to be removed. So we cannot use example plus to minimum endurance charge mod, since that cannot be removed. For endurance charge generation, we use Forbidden's Flesh and Flame Jewel to steal unflinching skill from Juggernaut. That also gives +1 to maximum endurance charges. With this ring, even when we are just using Warcries, we are taking damage, so unflinching starts the generation. Another charge generation comes from the Mob Mentality Cluster Jewel skill, that also can generate frenzy charges too. We have 100% chance to gain charges, because of the last Chieftain Ascendancy skill. It gives infinite power to Warcries, and increases their buff effect with 30%, so all Warcries are more powerful. Also we get Onslaught from Led by example Cluster Jewel skill, 100% increased armor from Warning Call Cluster Jewel skill, and 5 Rage from Rage Mastery every time we use Warcries. We use 5 Warcries, each of them gives different buffs for a short time, and exerting the next 2 to 6 attacks. Intimidating Cry gives movement speed, intimidates enemies, so they take 10% increased attack damage, and exerts the next 2 attacks that will make double damage. Infernal Cry buff grants 25% of physical damage as extra fire damage, and exerting the next 6 attacks. Rallying Cry buff grants added attack damage equal to 24% of the damage of the main hand weapon. Exerts the next 5 attacks, and also exerted attacks deal 5% more damage per affected ally, to a maximum of 25%. We have a Fire Golem, and from the Herald of Purity, we can have 4 Sentinels of Purity to reach the maximum 5 allies. The last 2 Warcries are not giving buffs, since we use auto-exertion for automatically trigger them. When their cooldowns are over, Seismic Cry exerts the next 6 attacks, and also gives 50% more area of effect. Battle Mage's Cry exert the next 5 attacks, and also triggers a supported spell. In example, we can use Warlord's Mark for some life leech and rage generation, or any marks or curses we like. Since 5 Warcries exerting the attacks, overexertion support is insane. It gives 100% more damage. Echoes of Creation Helm also gives 15% more damage for each Warcry exerting the attack. That is 75% more damage. The negative part of this helm is that we also take 75% of life as physical damage. This sounds bad, but the character is very tanky. We have 90% physical damage reduction, 20k armor, but during fight even more. 89% all elemental resistances, 66% chaos resistance. And most of the time we have 9 endurance charges. We are immune to freeze from Pantheon, and immune to stun from Unwavering Stance key skill. We have life leech, 800 life regen, and also 15% instant life recovery when we use a Warcry. Molten Shell with cast when damage taken support, and Heart of Flame from Molten Exafraft negates a lot of damage taken too. So we can jump into explosions. Stay in Shaper's Beam.
We need to close this.
Or play with Exarchus balls. For reach around 800 fire resistance, we can use small cluster jewels with increased effect mod. This to jewels gives 180% fire resistance. My Circle of Anguish ring gives 102%, and it also gives +1 to maximum endurance charges. Body armor, belt and gloves are rare items, so we can use high tier fire resistance, and double resistance from Benchcraft. Lunettel's Vow Amulet has some fire resistance too, but most importantly it gives 1 more support jump to Tectonic Slam. Gang's Momentum Boots can give 60% fire resistance on maximum roll, and also it can have +1 to maximum endurance charge. Implicit, +1 to level of Socketed Gems. Implicit not necessary, but it helps for enlightened support in Mono Reservation. Purity of Fire Aura gives 53% fire resistance, and also +4% to maximum fire resistance. Ruby Flask gives another 40% fire resistance, and also +5% to maximum fire resistance. With 25% increased effect mod, it gives even more. Tattoo of the Ingamaha Firewalker gives 6% to fire resistance in 10 strength passives in the skill tree. If we combine this with the new Foulburn the Red Dream Jewel, we get a lot of increased maximum life too. With my setup, the tattoos gives 42% to fire resistance, and the jewel gives 52% increased maximum life. Next to Purity of Fire Aura, we use Herald of Ash, Herald of Purity, Blood and Sand for more damage. Seismic Cry and Battle Mage's Cry with Auto Exertion also reserves mana. We have reserved all our mana, for use 3 Warcries in like a second. We would need to work on mana reservation and get high mana regeneration. To solve this problem, we use Replica Sorrow, the Divine Flask. It gives 40% increased damage, creates Consecrated Ground that gives 5% life regeneration per second, and 50% reduced effect of curses, but most importantly it gives Eldritch Battery. It makes Energy Shield protect mana instead of life. That means we can use Energy Shield as mana, and since Energy Shield has a lot of recharge, we do not need to think on the regeneration. We will need around 200 Energy Shield to solve this problem. We use 2 flasks. For almost all the time run those flasks, we use Bulbala version of Brutal Restraint Timeless Jewel. To get the Trader Key skill, it gives flasks gain for charges per empty flask slot every 5 seconds. We have 3 empty flask slot, so we gain 36 charges every 15 seconds. The flask uses 40 charges, so we still need to gain a little more flask charges. There are many options for that. I use a mod on the belt. In my opinion, the best weapon for this kind of builds is Marohi Urki. It looks dazzling, and it has a lot of damage. Reduces the accuracy rating, but we use Resolute technique, so it's not a problem. Reduces attack speed too, but Warcries exerts only a few attacks, and they have cooldown. Also ancestrally boosted Slam from Fist of War support only. Appears every 1.8 second, so we not really want to hit fast. This weapon also good for stun, for example Uber Shaper or Uber Exarch. But for mapping, I would take off Ruthless and melee physical damage support, and I would use something like faster attack support. We have a huge area damage, it cleans all the screen, and we run fast. It can be good for mapping, but I made this build for bosses. If you have any questions about the build, please write in comment. Thank you for watching.